Okay. Hello, my name is Wendy Wesley, and I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist. And I'm here in St. Petersburg, and I'm in private practice, and I teach people how to eat better. And I also teach people how to cook more at home, save money at the grocery store. This is something I do. I do grocery store tours. I teach people to save money in the grocery store. And I teach people to cook more at home because people who cook at home have better health outcomes. That has been shown through many, many studies that people, the more you cook at home, the more you eat at home, the lower rates of diabetes, lower rates of cardiac disease, and lower rates of kidney disease. Also, overall, the more people cook at home, the lower their BMI is. So this today is about trying to cook more at home without killing yourself, spending less money in the grocery store, making cooking at home less of a chore and more pleasurable, so you have time to do the things that you like to do, like hang out with family or hobbies, or just run the laundry because you're at work full time and then you are off and then you're trying to cook and laundry and kids and all kinds of other things. Does this resonate with anybody? And I will encourage you to take yourself off mute and speak if you want to, because I'll be the first to admit it's tough to talk to a screen. So if anybody wants to kind of jump in and say, kind of talk about maybe what they're struggling with cooking, with grocery shopping, with feeding themselves or feeding their family, I would welcome that. And anything you want me to specifically talk about. I have a list. I don't think we can come off mute in the Zoom format. Oh, bummer. Okay. All right. That's too bad. Okay. Well, if you want to put your questions in the chat, I will do my best to look at chat and read it and try and make it as interactive as possible. But if there is somebody on here with your organization who can take people off mute, that would be great, because these seminars work best when somebody can just kind of ask a question and make it more interactive. So what I have, again, if you've just kind of come on later, I'm Wendy Wesley. I'm a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and I help people cook more at home, save money at the grocery store, and eat more nutrient-dense foods. People who cook at home have better health outcomes and lower BMI. So I'm a major proponent of home cooking. It's kind of, as a dietitian, it is my passion to get people to cook more at home and to eat more at home. A lot of my clients say, Wendy, I just don't want to cook. And so I help them come up with ways to kind of buy prepared foods at the grocery store. I call it assembling. I call it gathering. So it's not necessarily, you don't have to cook from scratch, but there's a lot of cool ways you can buy things that are kind of pre-made at the grocery store, bring them home and serve them. And I can talk about that too. I see some things in the chat, so I'm going to open the chat and read that. Not sure about a moderator. Let's see. She will need to, we can't on the tech data end. Okay, let's see. I thought I saw 10 chat. Okay, let's see. Yes. Okay, I think that's everything in chat. I've addressed everything. So I'm just going to get going, and I'm going to keep my eye on chat, and I will read those questions that come up aloud for the benefit of everybody. Okay, so what I've put together, it's called 14 tips for working faster in the home kitchen. And these are things that I've come up with over the past, I'd say 25 years that I've been cooking. And these tips help people get in and get out of the kitchen faster. And the first one I want to talk about is vegetables. Everybody always asks me about organic vegetables, and they ask me about regular vegetables, and they ask me about frozen, and they ask me about canned. And people say to me all the time, Wendy, what is the best vegetable to eat? And my answer is always the one that makes it into your stomach. And that means the one that works with your budget and the one that works with your lifestyle. Some people I work with, truly, they can't afford organic. And I've actually had people say, I can't afford organic, so I'm not going to eat any fruits and vegetables. And I warn them against that, because we do need to eat fruits and vegetables for their minerals, vitamins, phytonutrients, and their fiber. So if you cannot afford organic, it is not the end of the world. There is a list out there called the Dirty Dozen, and I'm happy to share that link with your organization. But you've probably seen it, and it is the list. If you're going to spend the money on organic, these are these 12 fruits and vegetables that you should prioritize as far as spending the money on organic. It's called the Dirty Dozen. But if you truly can't afford organic, or if it's not at the store where you shop, please don't worry about it. Please just make sure you eat fruits and vegetables. And so that's fresh. Regarding frozen, I love frozen vegetables, and I recommend them to everybody, because the beautiful thing about frozen vegetables is they're ready when you are. I can't tell you the number of times I've gone to the store with great intentions. I bought a lot of fresh produce. I put it in the refrigerator, you see behind me, and it rotted before I could get to it. And so the food didn't make it into my system, and I wasted a lot of money, and I felt bad about it. And I thought, well, maybe next time I'll do better. I really started to explore the world of frozen vegetables about 15, 20 years ago. And I kind of gave myself permission, and I'm giving you permission, to use frozen vegetables. Buy them, put them in the freezer, and forget about them until you are like cooking dinner and you want to add some vegetables to a soup or a stir fry, or you just want to serve a vegetable on the side. Go to your freezer. There is no shame in using frozen vegetables. In fact, sometimes frozen vegetables are actually fresher than fresh, because they are picked and they are flash frozen not far away from where they're picked. So they will often retain a lot more nutrients because they are flash frozen very, very close to where they are picked. So please use frozen vegetables. Publix has these fantastic steamer bags. They're like $1.69 for a bag. I don't recommend microwaving them in the plastic that they come in. It's just something I, as a dietitian, don't recommend that you microwave in plastic. You take them out of the bag, you steam them up. You can microwave them in a microwave safe bowl, like ceramic or glass or something. I just don't recommend that you microwave in plastic. Oh God, good. Somebody put the Dirty Dozen link up there. Thank you for doing that. That is cool. So again, that's the Dirty Dozen. If you're going to spend money on organic, spend it on those 12. And the rest of them are not as, it's not as serious or important that you buy organic. Just please, fruits and vegetables. And then I want to end by talking about canned. If canned is what your family likes and it works for you, go ahead. As far as beans are concerned, canned beans are something that's always in my pantry. And it's a couple of times a year I will soak beans, like on New Year's Day. I always soak and cook black-eyed peas. It's just something I've always done. It's kind of a Southern thing. But for the day in, the day out, I rely on canned beans. I have pinto, garbanzo, Great Northern beans, and black beans. And those are staples, what I call pantry staples. Always beans in the fridge. I put them in tacos, I put them in stir fries, try and put them in everything. I'm always trying to add beans to the diet, and canned beans are the way. Don't feel bad about using canned beans, and don't think you have to buy them fresh or dried and then soak and cook. My God, we're all working hard full time here. We don't have time to cook and soak beans, okay? Maybe once a year on New Year's Day, but canned beans are okay. I also, as far as vegetables are concerned, if they've got peppers, for instance, on sale, if they're in season, like red peppers, sometimes you'll get them 3 for $1. I will bring those home and I will make a frittata. So that is the simplest thing in the world. It's cracking several eggs, 6 or 7 eggs into a bowl, sauteing up some onions and peppers, and then baking the whole thing. And the beautiful thing about that is that you can get up in the morning and it's already baked, and you cut a slice, microwave it for a minute, and then you have these eggs that are ready to go. So that's definitely one of my morning hacks, is to make a frittata. It really is just kind of like an omelet. It's an omelet. You can put some cheese in it, definitely put the vegetables in it. And that way you're getting this fantastic big serving of vegetables first thing in the morning. Because I try and encourage people to eat fruits and vegetables at every meal and every snack, if at all possible. So let's see. Going back to my 14 tips for working faster in the home kitchen, one thing I do recommend is that you have a cutting board. I recommend always a wood cutting board over glass. I think that glass is not a very good material for a cutting board. I think wood is the superior material for a cutting board. And now, if you can, buy a bigger one and leave it out on the counter. I find that when my cutting board is out on the counter, I'm eating more fruits and vegetables, because what I'm doing is I'm saving a step. I don't have to squat down into the cabinet down here, into the dark cabinet, pull out my cutting board. It's out. I just keep it clean and keep it sanitized, and it's always ready to go when I want. And here's my dog. Always ready to go when I want to cut up some onions, cut up some peppers, put them in some eggs or in some tacos, or cut some fruit, and it's ready to go. Sometimes, I'll tell you, I do cut a lot of onions and garlic on this guy, and he gets a little stinky. I take coffee grounds from the night before, and I take the coffee grounds and I smear them all over the cutting board, and those coffee grounds will absorb those odors of those onions and that garlic. And that's a really, really good kitchen hack, is coffee grounds. Lemon will do the same thing. And the reason is coffee grounds and lemon are very, very high in acid, and those acids will absorb those stinky flavors. If your garbage disposal is getting a little stinky, also some coffee grounds down the disposal, just let them sit for the day, or some lemon down the disposal will take care of those garbage disposal odors. So there's a couple of hacks for eliminating kitchen smells. Let's see. So that's my first tip, is let's leave the cutting board out on counter because it's ready to go, and it just helps. I find that it just helps me get going much, much faster. If that's one thing I don't have to do, is pull out a cutting board. Also, this guy he's big, he's heavy, he doesn't move around, so this cutting board is safe. I'm not going to cut myself because it's not moving around. So I recommend a big, heavy wooden cutting board for everybody's kitchen. Okay. The next thing, if you can position this cutting board somewhere between where you wash your vegetables and where you cook. If it's possible in your kitchen, you create this thing called what I call wash, chop, cook. So you're washing the vegetables, chopping the vegetables, and then cooking, and you're moving in this linear fashion. This is how they set up professional kitchens. So you're working in a very, very linear fashion. You're not running over there to wash, running over here to chop, and running over here to cook. You are working in this fast, fluid motion. So that's number 2. So number 1 was cutting board stays out. Number 2, create a wash, chop, cook flow in your kitchen if possible. And then number 3 is something we talked about just a little bit earlier, is being well stocked. So pantry staples are an absolute must for you to cook at home. And these things, believe it or not, are as simple as salt, pepper, spices, oil, butter, rice, pasta, flour, breadcrumbs, eggs, milk, cream, things like that. It kind of depends on really how you like to cook. I do have a complete list of pantry staples on my website, and I will share that. It's not for everybody. Everybody's pantry staples will be a little different. For instance, I always have some tuna fish in my pantry, just in case I want to make a quick lunch or a quick snack. I've always got tuna fish ready to go. I always have diced tomatoes. This makes a very, very easy, quick tomato sauce, or for any kind of other recipe. The tomato, I'm always going through canned tomatoes and replenishing them. And of course, I talked about my favorite staple, which is beans. I always have beans. I always have a variety of rice. This is my grain container. It used to have Christmas pretzels in it, but it makes a nice airtight container, keeps the bugs out too. We do live in Florida, and this is where I keep my grain. So I've got some barley. I use office binder clips to keep things nice and fresh. Maybe you got some at Tech Data. And of course, different varieties of rice. This is a jasmine rice. Farro is one of my favorite grains. I always have farro in the house. Cooks up just like rice, 25 minutes, and it is ready to go. It's a whole grain, and most of these grains will contain a good amount of protein. Believe it or not, there's protein in rice. There's protein in farro, and we all know that there's lots of protein in quinoa. Quinoa is actually a seed. It makes a fantastic base for a bowl. Sometimes when I'm having some friends over, especially post-pandemic, I like to set up a bowl bar where I put out a grain, I put out some beans, I put out some meat and some toppings, and we all kind of create a bowl. And it's a fun way to have friends over and have a healthy meal that's kind of interactive. So, and then I have got some red quinoa. So I've got the white quinoa, red quinoa. One of my tips that comes later in this list is to cook a grain on Sunday. Now, I'm not the kind of person who likes to do a lot of meal prep on Sunday. Some people will. Some people will prep 5 days worth of meals, and that's fantastic. But I found that that just kind of wasn't me. And so what I found that I was willing to do, I was willing to cook a grain on Sunday. And so that is a pan of rice, or it's some of this barley. It kind of depends, or it's some of this farro, and I don't eat it. The whole idea is to cook it, and then I let it cool, and I put it in the refrigerator. And this is one of the most amazing hacks for getting dinner on the table fast, is if you don't have to boil water and cook. Pasta is also something you can cook on Sunday. You can cook a batch of pasta on Sunday and just keep it in the fridge. And so when dinner time comes around, you just grab some of that rice and you throw it in the stir fry. You grab some of that pasta and you throw it in the sauce. You grab some of this cooked quinoa, and it becomes the base for your bowl. This is like one of my absolute favorite hacks, is to cook that grain on a Sunday. I keep all of these in my pantry, kind of in this clear container, so they're right in front of my face. That's the other thing. I open the pantry, and right in front of my face, I've got my grains, I've got my beans. So I put the good stuff right kind of at eye level. So when I open the pantry, I said, okay, I've got good grains, I've got good tomatoes, I've got some good beans. I am ready to make almost anything. And it's because I keep staples, always staples replenished in the house. I've actually been to friends' houses and trying to cook dinner for them, and they don't even have salt. That has happened to me twice. And I said, okay, we got to start at the basics. You got to at least have some salt, maybe a little oil, maybe a little butter. To go to the store and buy all of these staples at once could be very, very expensive. So if you, every time you go to the store, you buy just 1 or 2 more staples, and you slowly, slowly build your kitchen up so that you are doing more cooking at home and less takeout meals. Takeout meals, fast food, restaurant food, very, very calorically heavy, lots and lots of sodium. Restaurants will cook with large amounts of butter and large amounts of heavy cream, things that you probably wouldn't allow yourself to use at home just because you know better. Handfuls of salt in food, and I've seen it all. And it's when you kind of understand that restaurant food is not necessarily sustainable for good health. I love restaurant food, but if I ate takeout in restaurants every night, I wouldn't have much money in the bank, and I may have worsening health outcomes. So that's why I'm such a proponent of home cooking. Let's see, what is next? Let me put my grains away. Sharp knives. If you're going to eat a fiber-rich diet that includes fruits and vegetables, you have to have sharp knives. Now, this is a knife. This is actually my most expensive knife, and I believe I paid $40 for it. I have some other knives that are not as expensive, but they work just as well because I keep them sharp. Before I start cooking or cutting vegetables, I will run my knife. This is called a steel. It's just metal. And I will run my knife on the steel just to kind of give it a nice blade. And I keep my knives in good working order by just giving them a couple of passes on the steel. Now, at my cutting board, I have this, well, I'll show it to you. I'll just grab it. I've got this thing at my cutting board. I'm sure many of you have this. I just kind of, I guess, a gadget garage or something. And I keep my steel in it, so it's always ready for me to just kind of grab. And then I keep my knives in a drawer right below the cutting board. So everything's kind of all ready to go when it's time to cut some fruits and vegetables. So give it a good pass, and I am ready to go. You don't have to have expensive $200, $300 knives to be effective in the kitchen. You just need to keep them sharp. I'm holding the blade kind of 20, 30 degrees against the steel and just rubbing it across. No big deal. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of fine tuning the blade here before I begin to cut my fruits and vegetables. Now, when they get really, really dull, this is my sharpening stone. It's just like a nail file. This is the rough end, like a nail file, and this is the smooth end, just like a nail file. And then it's called a whetstone because you're supposed to use water on it. I'll get it wet, and then I will just take my knife and I'll do some passes over the stone on the rough side, on both sides of the blade, flip it over, and I will use the kind of the fine tuning. And what this is actually grinding down the blade so I can get a sharp edge on it. And I'll do this, I don't know, every couple of months I'll use the stone, but every time I go to cook or do a lot of chopping vegetables and fruits, I will use my steel. So again, like the knives, they don't have to be expensive, but if you can, this is a fantastic skill to have, because keeping them sharp means you're going to work faster in the kitchen. You also work safer. The most dangerous thing in your kitchen is a dull knife. When a knife is dull, you have to apply a lot of downward pressure onto the food. And the more downward pressure you apply, if you slip, that's when you may cut yourself. So actually, a sharp knife is actually a much safer tool than a dull knife. Let's see. My next one is one of my favorites, purge tools and gadgets. I always say if within a year there's a gadget or some kind of a tool in your kitchen that you have not used, I would recommend you give it away to the thrift store, or give it away to a friend or a neighbor, or even just, toss it, because sometimes we have too much stuff in our kitchen and it pulls away from our attention to the work at hand. And the work at hand is feeding ourselves, feeding our families, getting dinner on the table, and not being slaves to the kitchen. And sometimes I find that when the drawers are full of gadgets and other things we don't use, they get in the way and they slow us down. So with some clients, I've actually taken all of their gadgets and put them in a box and put them in the garage. And I said, when you need the gadget, you go get it. And if you brought it back into the kitchen, within a year, you get to keep it. But if you never went to the garage to retrieve it, maybe it's time to go. I'm going to say the same thing for pots and pans. You have some workhorse pans, your saucepans, your sautés, maybe some nonstick egg pans. Those are your workhorse pans. A couple of my favorite workhorse pans are cast iron. I do cook in cast iron pans. But if you have a lot of fancy kind of gadgety pans that you find you don't use, I would get rid of them. I really would, because again, sometimes their cabinet space in kitchens is very, very limited, can be very, very precious, and shouldn't be full of stuff that you don't use. Okay. And let's see, my next tip, it's number 7. I'm going to tip this up, and I want to show you my favorite thing in my kitchen is my pot rack. These are my workhorse pans that I talked about, saute and saucepan. There's a nonstick wok that I use quite a bit. And if you can figure out somewhere in your kitchen to put a pot rack. Now mine is up above this table. I've seen people do pot racks over a window if they don't have the space to put it in the middle. If you can figure out a way to have a pot rack in your kitchen, I think you'll enjoy it very much, because you can get cooking so fast. Because I just reach up and here's my egg pan and I'm ready to go. I didn't have to go squat down and look in the cabinet. I just kind of looked up, reached, and grabbed my pan, and I'm ready to go. I find this makes work in my kitchen so much faster when I don't have to go ruffling through my cabinets to find my pans. They're ready for me when I need them. So I'm gonna hang this guy back up. Okay, let's see what else is. Oh, this is another good one. Where I work, I have a cutting board here, and then I have a cutting board over here where my stove is, and I keep my oils and my salt and my pepper and my spices there where I'm cooking. So right at the stove, I have spices. I have, well, I'll show you. I have spices. I have, can you see? I see my spice rack, and I have at the stove, I have my pepper mills, and I have oils and salt and pepper. So I am, where I'm standing and where I'm cooking, I've got all the spices, and those are the ones I use most often. And I grab them, I I season my food, goes back in the spice rack. It can be time consuming and kind of tiring if you have to go over to the pantry and maybe it's dark in the pantry and you're looking for your spices. So if you can kind of arrange your kitchen so your oils and your salt, pepper, and your spices are where you cook, you'll move a lot faster. And then back to this, I guess this gadget garage or gadget bowl or whatever. These are the things that I use the most. A cheese grater, of course, tongs. I use tongs all the time. A whisk. I'm always using a whisk. Of course, spatulas galore. And my favorite, wooden spoons. So where I'm cooking, I grab a spoon and I'm off. And this makes cooking for me so much faster. This next one is number 9, and I stole it from Rachel Ray. And it is to cook with a garbage bowl. So my garbage can is way over here, and then where I wash and cut my food is over here. And so what I found was I was carrying these wet vegetables across my kitchen and making a mess to dump them in the garbage can. So I saw Rachel Ray had this cool idea where she uses a garbage bowl or a garbage bag. And so where she's working, she's just tossing her scraps. So that way she's not walking back and forth across her kitchen trying to throw stuff away. She's using a garbage bowl or a garbage bag. So thank you, Rachel Ray. I stole that from her. Okay, this is probably, I love this hack. I'm sure this idea is not new to you at all. But when I see that there's chicken breast or pork chops or ground beef for sale in large quantities, I mean like large quantities, I buy it and take it home. What I do is I freeze it in, I'd say that's about a pound. I freeze it in, this is in a Ziploc bag, and then I put it inside another Ziploc bag. And so what I will do in the morning, maybe I don't know what I'm going to make for dinner, but I will pull out and thaw a protein. And I call it a protein because I really don't know what it's going to be, but I'm at least thawing something. I'll pull out a chicken breast or 2 chicken breasts. I'll pull out a couple of pork chops. I'll pull out some sausages, like a package of sausages, or I'll pull out like a pound of ground beef. I don't really know what it's going to be. It could be a meatloaf. It could be meatballs. We could have taco night. It could be, let's just have hamburgers and a roasted potato on the side, a baked potato on the side. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a very, very simple meal. If you're using lean ground beef, it's a healthy meal, especially if you're using a whole grain bun. You know, it's fine. It's fine. Sometimes I think that the Food Network has made us think that our meals have to be high end and gourmet and fancy sauces and fancy ingredients. And I'm giving you permission to make meatloaf and a baked potato, or make a meatloaf or meatballs and a side salad and call it a day, and give yourself a break and not have to put this pressure on yourself to make these very, very high-end fancy meals. Just cook at home and thaw a protein and give yourself permission. Maybe you don't know what it's going to be. When dinner time comes, you know that you've got something that's thawed and ready to go. So any questions? Because I'm just talk. Okay, let me put this away. As far as my staple vegetables, I will buy some fresh vegetables, and I do keep them in a, I bought this and it was full of an organic 50-50 salad mix. And I bought it because I wanted to have the organic salad mix, but I also wanted to have a clear container that I keep in my refrigerator where I keep my fresh vegetables. So this red thing on the bottom here you see is a dish towel, and it is kind of wet. And the beautiful thing about that is that this dish towel is keeping my fresh vegetables fresh in my refrigerator. So what I have in here are a couple of green onions, and they are full of water, which means they're fresh because this towel is keeping them nice and fresh and full of water. In here, I have some collard greens. Now, collard greens are not in season right now, but I have them because this Saturday I'm cooking at the Tampa Bay Collard Green Festival in St. Petersburg. And so I needed to experiment, and I'm actually, for the festival, I'm making collard green pesto. which is just 4 ingredients. It's collard greens, it's oil, it's salt, and garlic. And I put it in my food processor and put it over pasta, or you serve it with grilled chicken or grilled fish. And I'll be sampling it on Saturday with hunks of bread. And that's down at 22nd, is it Street, 22nd Avenue South, the Deuces, South St. Pete. And it's a great festival. It's called the Tampa Bay Collard Green Festival. And so I'll be down there Saturday doing this. But I keep them in here because this towel is wet and it's keeping my collards. And look how fresh this is. These collards are a week old and they've been sitting in this thing for an entire week and they're still this fresh. That's amazing to me. If I only use half of a bell pepper, the other half goes in here. If I only cut half of an onion, the other half goes in here. And this is where I keep my fresh vegetables that I use for cooking. And I keep them in the refrigerator. So when I open the fridge, it's the first thing I see. And what this does is it helps me to consume more vegetables when they are front and center. Just like the cans of beans in the pantry, you open that pantry and it's the first thing you see are these beans, or one of the first things you see are these tomatoes. And you think, okay, what can I do with these tomatoes? And what can I do with these beans? And I'm going to add some of these onions to my stir fry because they're right in front of me. And that's, I found a great way to make sure we're getting more vegetables and more fiber into the diet. Okay, what's next on my list? Thaw a protein, not the protein. We did that. So we live in Florida. Well, I live in Florida. Y'all might live somewhere else. I do a lot of cooking, especially this time of the year when I'm running the air conditioner with my toaster oven. And I like to give people the permission to use a toaster oven. I know this sounds kind of basic, but I don't really like to turn on my big oven when I'm running the air conditioner in Florida. So I do a lot of cooking in my toaster oven. Now I have a big, kind of an oversized toaster oven. I make meatloaf. I bake chicken. I make meatballs. I make cornbread. And then I do all the other things that a toaster oven does, like toast bread and toast bagels and stuff like that. But I'll make roasted sweet potatoes. I will bake whole potatoes in my toaster oven. I like doing it, again, I can get that toaster oven to 350 degrees in about 3 minutes versus waiting, I don't know, 10 minutes for my big oven to come up to temperature. So again, this toaster oven gets you cooking faster, doesn't heat up your house, and cooks your food really, really fast. Now, a lot of my friends are loving their air fryers and loving their Instapots. Now, I've not experimented with either one of those. I want to get an air fryer and play around with it because I've heard so many good things. And so those appliances sound like they really are helping people get dinner on the table faster. And if anybody has experience with Instapot, good stories, bad stories, let's hear them. Or with the air fryer, I would love to hear them because I'd love to become an Instapot or an air fryer kind of a girl. So, but for now, I'm just I'm using my stove and my top, my range top, and I'm using a toaster oven, and I'm getting everything done. Let's see. So we already talked about number 12, which was cooking the grains in advance. And I want to kind of circle back to vegetables. I know in grocery stores, they have a lot of cut onion, celery, pepper, and tomatoes. And I think those are fantastic. If you don't have the time or you're not, maybe you're not comfortable with knives, not everybody is. If you want to buy these things pre-cut, please do it. Whatever it takes to get more vegetables into the diet, whatever it takes to help you be more successful and have more pleasure and more joy in the kitchen, I'm all for it. There is no shame in paying someone to cut those things for you. If you can cut them yourself, you'll save a lot of money. But if it's just something you don't want to do or don't have time to do, that's okay too. Buy it. Just figure out how to get more vegetables into your diet. Let's see. Number 13 is a cool one. And it really is just giving people permission to serve crudité, which is raw vegetables, as the vegetable for the meal. This happened to me a couple of years ago. It was after work and I was making dinner and I was tired and I didn't feel like steaming broccoli or heating up some green beans. And I just cut some cucumber slices and I put some baby carrots out on a plate, and I served it to my my family. And guess what? They loved it. It was the middle of summer. They were cool. I guess eating cool vegetables in the middle of summer was okay. I served a little bit of ranch dressing with it, and nobody complained. And what I learned was that I don't always have to cook a vegetable. I can just kind of serve up to my family some raw vegetables, and that's okay. So again, giving yourself permission to not kill yourself in the kitchen, giving yourself a break, to just, sometimes dinner can be some crackers and tuna fish. I know sometimes sometimes dinner can be hummus and carrot sticks and a piece of fruit, and it really is okay. You don't have to get in and do something big and fancy and formal. But I would like for you to look for ways to get more fruits and vegetables into your diet all the time, and not eat so much processed food, and maybe not eat out in restaurants so much. And then lastly, the one, I think I've touched on it before, is keeping those fruits and vegetables front and center. So behind me, I have a fruit bowl, or it's a big fruit platter, and I do keep my fruit out on it. I found that if I keep it out on the countertop right in front of my face, I am more likely to grab it and eat it versus taking it and tucking it in a drawer, like those produce drawers in the fridge. You have to eat it kind of quick, especially this time of the year, because it's a little warmer and things can go bad. But if I find that if the fruit is out in front of my face, I'm more likely to eat it. The same with the vegetables. Of course, I wouldn't keep these out on the counter. They would shrivel up and they would attract bugs. So I do keep them in this thing in the refrigerator. I find that I'm just eating a lot more of it. And then before every meal, and I believe that includes breakfast, you ask yourself, where's my fruit? Where's my vegetable? Where is my color? Where is my fiber? And so always saying, how can I get more color into my diet? How can I get more fiber into my diet? How can I get more fruits and vegetables into my diet? And then, of course, how to get more whole grains into your diet. Again, cooking the grain in advance and having it already ready to go means that I'm eating more and feeding my family more whole grains because they're already cooked and I don't have to go through those extra steps of cooking those whole grains. Are there any questions? Anything I can answer as far as a question you may have about cooking, grocery shopping, meal prep? I know that meal prep can be daunting. People say to me all the time, I just don't know what to cook. I just don't know what to cook. And I'm going to put this back in the freezer because it's so, I don't want it to thaw. I'm not ready for it. Any questions about it? Eat too much. Oh, I see. I read that. My problem, so that someone wrote, my problem is that I eat too much pasta. Okay. I have seen that definitely. And I've experienced that. And I love pasta, and pasta wasn't something I was willing to give up. So what I had to do for my family was I still serve the pasta. I still serve the tomato sauce, and sometimes I use this, and sometimes I use jarred sauce, and there's no shame in the jarred sauce at all. What I do is I bulk my jarred sauce up with a lot of mushrooms, green peppers, onions, and I'll even put carrots into my spaghetti sauce because carrots contain sugar, and that's okay. It's a natural sugar inside those carrots. And when they cook, they will leach out some of that sugar and make that sauce a little sweeter and a little stickier, and that makes it stick to the pasta even better. That's one little carrot hack I've learned, is that that sugar in those carrots will leach out into the sauce and make it stickier and sweeter. So I love carrots in my spaghetti sauce. But the way to not eat so much pasta is to bulk up the sauce with lots and lots of vegetables. A great example of that is a pasta primavera. So you've got the pasta, you've got the oil or the butter, you've got the garlic, and maybe some Parmesan cheese, and all those things that make pasta primavera and, you know, pasta dish is so fantastic. But then you're bulking it up with lots of pepper. So you're julienne, slicing some carrots, you've got maybe some green onion, some peppers, and you make this beautiful, beautiful vegetable heavy, either red sauce or pasta primavera. Also, I was talking about the pesto that I made. I love to make this pesto. Sometimes I make it with collard greens. Sometimes I make it with spinach. Sometimes I make it with kale, or the traditional way is to do it with basil or a mixture of all of it, kind of whatever you got in the fridge, you put it in your pesto, and I put that over pasta. Again, trying to keep those pasta portions a little on the smaller side and the vegetable portions a little bit bigger. So thank you for that, because I'm not ready to give up pasta, but as a kind of an effort to eat less, I'm just bulking up with lots of vegetables. Yeah, I suppose the same thing could be said for instance, we bought some Publix macaroni salad, and for Mother's Day, and I was eating it, and it tastes amazing. But the amount of mayonnaise that Publix puts on their macaroni salad is crazy, right? It's a very, very heavily sauced macaroni salad. And so what I did, I had some carrots, I had some onions, and I had some peppers, and I chopped up a bunch of that, and I added it to the macaroni salad. And what I did was I bulked it up. So I almost turned, this much. It was just one of those little containers of macaroni salad. I doubled it in volume by loading up lots and lots and lots of vegetables. Because like I said, I just thought, why is there just so much mayonnaise on this Publix macaroni salad? I suppose you could do the same thing with Publix chicken salad, tuna salad, and potato salad. They all taste amazing. But if you could buy that and then bulk it up with your own vegetables, you'd be getting a lot more fiber, minerals, vitamins, antioxidants, and you'd be cutting the calories almost by half, because you're going to eat half of the portion because the vegetables have bulked it up so big. The same thing happens with eggs. Scrambling eggs or making an omelet or making a frittata, and that it's loaded with vegetables, you will feel like you're eating like a king. I had a patient over at St. Joe's. She called herself a volume eater. She said she had just had a heart attack. She was in the cardiac rehab at St. Joe's, and I was helping her with her diet. She said, I love to eat big portions. And so what I helped her do was bulk up all of her meals with lots and lots of vegetables, so that she was still eating those big portions that she liked, but she was getting lots and lots of fiber, which was bringing down her cholesterol. It was helping her GI situation, helping her have better and more frequent bowel movements because of the fiber. And she was getting more nutrition because she was eating more vegetables. And she reported back, she said, these omelets I'm making, they're so full of vegetables, they're falling off the plate. I feel like I'm eating like a queen. I almost can't finish all of it because it's so much food. And so that is a fantastic hack to bulk up your foods with lots and lots and lots of vegetables. To chicken salad and tuna salad, I will add nuts. Well, maybe not so much tuna salad, but chicken salad, I definitely add walnuts. I add raisins. I add lots of onions, peppers, all kinds of things to bulk it up. Talk. Any more questions? I'll just keep talking. Oh, will we get a copy of the 14 tips after the, yes, I will definitely send that. Make notes. I'm going to send the staples list. I'm going to write these down. I'm going to send the staples list. And I'm going to send the 14 tips list along to either Desiree or to your wellness leader. And like I said, I've been developing these 14 tips over the past, I would say I started kind of developing them about 15 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, finally put them down on paper, and I've been sharing and speaking about it. And the idea is it kind of seems to resonate because, again, we all want to eat healthier foods, healthier diet. But I personally don't want to be a slave to the kitchen. I do enjoy cooking, but there's a point at which I get tired. And I try and keep my meals as simple as possible. I try and use as few dishes as possible, reuse as many spoons. I will use this, rinse it, use it for something else. When my son, he's 14, he cooks, he dirties every darn spoon and fork in the kitchen, and I've got to train him to stop dirtying every, because somebody's got to wash that stuff. So also being very, very careful and judicious with the utensils and the pans that you use. So when dinner's over, you're not, standing at the sink loading a dishwasher or washing a bunch of dishes. It's also about kind of managing your tools as well, so you're not making such a big mess. Clean as you go. I know you've heard that. Some people are really good at. I'm not great at clean as I go, but I'm getting better, and I find that it makes the whole cooking experience so much better if I can kind of clean as I go. So, any other tips? Because every time I do one of these, someone throws out a really good tip that I haven't thought of. And as far as grocery shopping, getting food on the table, eating at home more. I'd love to hear what you have to say about that. So I'll send the staples list, and I will send the 14 tips list. I also, maybe we could talk about snacking a little bit. I do grocery store tours with people, and the question of, let's see, I bought a small Bluetooth speaker to keep in my kitchen to play music as I cook. It makes it a lot more fun and relaxing. That is a really, really fantastic idea. Years and years and years ago, I used to have a television in the kitchen. It was right up there. And it was so distracting that I pulled it out because I wasn't getting anything done. But I find that music helps me move faster and keeps me motivated. So awesome tip. I would recommend maybe taking the TV out if possible, because I do find it, for me personally, distracting, the TV in the kitchen. Great ideas for not wasting your fresh Oh God, I can't tell you for not wasting. She says, great ideas for not wasting your fresh veggies. I'm horrible at that. I can't tell you the amount of produce I have wasted in my lifetime before I figured this out. And before I gave myself permission to use frozen vegetables. I just said, enough is enough. I am buying all this beautiful, fresh stuff, and I'm just not getting to it. So sometimes you start out, Sunday or Monday, you've got great intentions for the week, and then life gets in the way, right? An event comes up, somebody gets sick, there's a homework emergency, whatever. And then I would come to Friday and Saturday, and I'd open my fridge and see all of this rotten produce that I didn't get to. Or I'd taken that produce and I tucked it away in a drawer and I forgot all about it, or like grapes or something, and or stone fruit like peaches, and they turned too fast, or avocados. I cannot keep up with avocados. If anybody has a tip for keeping up with avocados, I will happily accept that, because I cannot keep up with avocados. I've given up. Maybe I should just buy guacamole that's like pre-made and has some preservatives in it, and use it that way, because I just cannot keep up with avocados. But other things like these onions and these greens, this little hack helps me, so I'm not wasting my money. And then also frozen vegetables really, really have made quite the difference. The other thing is freezing meat in the portions that I'm going to use it. I used to go to the store and there was something, chicken breast, whatever was on sale. I'd buy it. I'd put the whole thing in the freezer, and then I had to thaw the whole thing to use some of it. And then I would run out of time before I could get to the rest of the chicken, and it would spoil. Trash can. That used to kill me, that I would spend all that money on meat, and I wouldn't take the time to portion it out in the amounts that I was going to use it. So now when I buy like a big package of chicken breast, I will put 2 breasts per baggie and individually freeze, 2 breasts per baggie, individually freeze. And then that's all I'm pulling out, all I'm thawing, and I'm not wasting meat and money anymore. Let's see. How long do thawed meats last in the fridge? You know, a lot of it depends on how fresh they were when you bought them. And I want to let me talk about the sell by dates. I get that question a lot. People are always asking me about best by dates and sell by dates on food. And but essentially tell people just to ignore those dates on food, except for milk. Now, when you're buying milk, I definitely want you to look at the date, and I want you to buy the date that is furthest off in the future, of course, because you want your milk to last as long as possible. But these other sell by dates and best by dates are there, and they really are only for the management of Publix or the supermarket, or they're only there for the food manufacturer. They're really not there for us. And so what I want you to do is use your eyes, and I want you to use your nose, and I want you to use your fingers. And so if meat doesn't smell right, if it doesn't look right, and if it's kind of sticky, then then you probably should not use it. But if it's not sticky, if it has like a neutral smell and it looks okay, use it. But a lot of how long meat will last in the fridge depends on how fresh it was when you bought it in the store. And that's why you should really use your senses, your sense of touch, your smell, and your sight to determine if the food is fresh. So we waste a lot of food in this country because we look at that date and we panic and we say, oh my God, it's past the best by date. But the truth is, if you just kind of smelled it, looked at it, and it was still fresh, you ate it, you're fine. Don't waste food based on those numbers that are on those dates that are on packages. It's completely, it's not for us. It's for the supermarket and the food manufacturer. Yes. Avocados put in okay, this person wrote, avocados put in a flour pack or near bananas. Yes, 2 days usually ready, and allowed to speed up the ripening, and store it in the fridge to slow it down. Okay, that's right. I have put, to ripen avocados, I have put avocados in a paper bag, and I put a clip on it. And what they do is they release a gas called ethylene, and they will self-ripen. And my problem is that I can't seem to use them fast enough before they get, gross and mushy on me. I can't figure out avocados. So I stopped buying them until I can figure them out. I just don't get to them fast enough, I guess. I've tried freezing them. That didn't work. I heard that if you remove the pit, you can freeze them and they won't go, all gnarly on you. So, but yeah, I've used that trick to ripen. Thank you for that. Thank you for that tip. Let's see, anything else as far, like if your bread, if it has a kind of a yeasty smell and there's mold, of course, get rid of it. But if you're past that sell by date and it still looks good and smells good and there's no mold, eat it. Please don't throw away. Don't waste food because of those arbitrary dates that are stamped onto packages. Now, if cans, of course, if they're dented or if the top has like risen or bubbled up, that's a very dangerous situation. That could be botulism, and you should definitely not eat that. But cans are, as long as the seal is intact and you open it up and it smells okay, just ignore those dates on things like cans. And as long as the can is not dented or whelped or something like that, you're okay. You're okay. Any more questions? So I'll sit down at my computer when we're done with this. I will send the staples list, and I'm going to send the 14 tips list. And we have like a few minutes. Any more? Oh, how long can you ignore the dates on the cans? I would say, to be quite frank, I have got cans 2 years and they're fine. They're fine. They're fine. Like I said, I've used cans that have been in my pantry for 2 years. Don't judge me. I know, I know. But the truth is, if the seal's okay, if the packaging's okay, and I open it up and it smells all right, it's okay. Trust your senses, your nose, your fingers, your eyes. Trust your senses. I know, don't judge me. Please don't judge me. But yeah, I think we can be a little too fussy about food. Just trust your senses. Yogurt, sour cream, how to slow down spoiling. Oh my goodness, good question. Keep it in the coldest part of your fridge. The coldest part of your fridge tends to be the back and the bottom. Of course, you put it there and you might be likely to forget it. So, but the way to keep dairy freshest is to keep it in the coldest part of the fridge. Same with your eggs. If you can keep your eggs. So I've stopped keeping my eggs in the door, because every time you open the door, heat comes in. So you want to keep your eggs kind of inside to the bottom. I keep mine in the bottom left, and they stay nice and cold. So dairy and eggs, try and keep them in the coldest place of your refrigerator. And don't let your kids stand there with the refrigerator door open trying to figure out what to eat. That's the worst. I have a 14-year-old, so I know what I'm talking about when it comes to these kids. Anything else? I'm so happy you guys asked questions, because it just makes it that much more interactive. And this is one of my favorite topics to talk about, because I want people to cook more at home, have more joy in the kitchen, have more joy at home preparing food. Not a burden, not a chore, but a joy. Something that you do for yourself, you do for your family, and you do with happiness, joy, peace, and ease, not stress. And it doesn't have to be fancy, and it doesn't have to be gourmet. It just needs to be fresh and full of fiber, full of vegetables, minerals, vitamins, antioxidants, plant majority. Try and make the majority of the calories you take in from plant sources, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, beans, legumes, whole grains. That should be 80 to 90% of your diet. I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian, but I do try and make the vast majority of my calories come from plants that are full of fiber, and I hope that you will do the same thing too. Thank you for the tips. I don't cook much because it feels like a chore, but I want to cook more. Thank you. I'm glad that you do want to cook more. Excited for these ideas. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I think we're at the end, and I appreciate your questions, and I appreciate your time and your attention. So if there aren't any more questions, I will sign off, and I'm going to send the staples list and the 14 tips list to you. Okay. All right. Have a good day. Have a good day. All right. We'll see you. Bye-bye.